see if it'll work. Come on. All right. Okay, let's do this before my fucking shit goes up. My light's been flickering and stuff. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 181 of Let Me Get That Potograph, our post-mint collectible special. Scott, what is going on, man?
Living the life, man. Living the life.
I hear you.
I know. We're rolling a little bit late this week due to some scheduling issues and some late trips getting back and some storms and dog issues and kid issues. And
well, my plane got delayed for about 7.5, 8 hours. And when I finally got out of Vegas, we go to get on the plane and they were asking people, if they wanted to be on standby, if they would change flights. I had changed flight vouchers and everything. And I thought the plane was packed. We get on the plane. There's about 6 of us on a 35-row plane. In the entire thing. So I think they were just trying to get us all to change tickets so they didn't have to make the flight, period.
That's probably what it is, which is surprising because usually they need the plane back wherever they're going for the morning. I was on a flight pre-9/11 once coming from Fort Myers to Chicago. I was traveling with a guy, and it was literally just the 2 of us and 3 flight attendants on the flight. And the only reason they made it was they took the flight was because they needed the plane back in Chicago the next morning. And we were throwing a football around in the aisles and flight attendants were like, here, just whatever you want from the bar, the bar cart. And it was
had this not been a red eye arriving around 3 a.m., there probably would have been some football playing. There was just, I think, 6 people sleeping at that point.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I would have been hitting up the bar.
I may or may not have during my 7-hour delay in the Las Vegas airport. Heavy on the may chance, but
yeah. And that's the most dangerous airport in the world to get delayed in.
It is.
You got the slot machines there. I mean, you can get in a lot of trouble in that airport.
Every concourse is a freaking mall. It's a mall too. Like you could go shopping at Lids. You could go, like you said, play slot machines. You could do whatever the hell you wanted in that airport.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. That that is like I dread getting delayed there just because I wind up coming home even broker than I was when I left.
Right. Yeah.
So, but that's
guys. This week, guys, is going to be a shorter episode than normal. We got a couple things we're going to cover today, but mostly we're going to do a mint recap. Go over some of the big things that went on there and some big news that's about to drop. We're kind of going to semi-break it to you. We kind of broke it on Hobby News Daily, the new website that I'm writing for a couple of days ago. But we're really going to dive into it a little bit more today. Then we have an awesome update regarding our interview with John Scanlon from a few weeks ago. I got a phone call from him today, and a really cool phone call that he got after our interview.
And I was pleasantly surprised when you sent me that text earlier today about that with the details about that. But we will get into that at the end of the show tonight. And it is going to be a quickie compared to normal.
Yes,
or so we think right now. Right. we can do an entire 3-week segment on what happened at the mint.
Yeah,
going forward, and it kind of makes me really look forward to the National this year because if all that stuff happened at the mint, imagine what is going to happen.
Yeah,
here in Chicago in July.
And I've already heard some rumblings of some stuff, and I heard it at the Mint that was being planned for the National. Talked to quite a few people there, and the National is definitely going to be crazy, and I would expect quite a lot to be announced at the National. And you know how it is, about a month before the National, normally a big scandal comes up, and then a lot of big news drops, and then we have the National. So I'm sure we'll get that here in in about a month or two anyway, leading up to it.
I'm thinking we're probably going to have several scandals that pop before that even, that time frame even hits. So
absolutely.
All right. So you were there, you were on the ground.
Yes.
Give me your overall impression of this year's mint compared and compare it to last year's.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, first of all, I'll say the entire weekend was awesome. This year I did get to stay at the MGM compared to not at the actual MGM, which is where it was held. So that was very nice. Cutting down on a lot of travel and a lot of carrying boxes and things like that, and saving a little bit of money as well. But the first thing I do want to say is last year was very much them testing the waters, and it was very much geared as a trade show. And that's kind of what I mentioned on the show earlier, that, this isn't your regular old card show. Don't expect to see dollar boxes. Don't expect to see smaller stuff. Expect to see big time displays and then more of a trade show feel. That's how it was last year. Man, this year, so many people brought out the dollar boxes, the lower end slabs. Like,
really? See, I was under the impression that the dealers weren't allowed to do that.
Well, game day cards, which we went, myself, Jared, and Mark from AA Mint down in Orlando, who was just featured on Most Expensivest with what's the name, 2 Chainz. We all went with Jeff Wilson from Sports Card Investor down to Game Day Sports. Checked all that out. If you watch Jeff's video, you can see me playing NBA Jam and kicking some ass with Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullen as they shot some B-roll footage. But they set up and had incredible deals all weekend. Multiple other vendors ended up having amazing boxes of lower end stuff, like anything from $1 to $10 cards, all the way up to the cards I was expecting to see, like last year, the $10, $20, $50, $100,000, iconic cards. Still had those all over the place, but you had so much more to choose from that you could actually go sift through a dollar box. Now, there weren't rows and rows of dealers, but last year there was literally none. This year, there was a good 10, 15 booths that had a lot of affordable stuff, whether it be wax, cards, everything. And that's another thing that wasn't there last year was wax. You couldn't really find much outside of people selling expensive cases or people selling, a couple of boxes of brand new product here and there. No, not too much. But this year, it was everywhere. And
last year, you probably saw like individual boxes of, let's say, late 90s skybox metal basketball.
Right.
The stuff that's going to go for 10 grand plus a box.
Yes. And you saw that. You don't get me wrong. That was all still there. But the mix of the actual card show really impressed me. And I thought was something that they were severely lacking the year before. And the reviews I know and stuff that people saw turned a lot of people off. But if you go to our Instagram at LGT Potograph, you'll see, as I did a lot of live shows through there, they're also up on Facebook as well, that the floor was a good mix of the super high end, but also the mid tiers, the low end. And if you want a discount slabs, shoot, I hit up a discount slab booth and bought like 25, 30 slabs for like $40. Yeah, I mean,
there you go. Now, also, I do want to say though that it's not necessarily a fair comparison to compare this year's to last year's, because the date got moved. I think at least twice last year due to COVID restrictions and things like that. So it's not it's not apples to apples.
Yes, some of those guys could have backed out. There were other big card shows that were this weekend, as well, Chantilly, things like that. So, that was also there last year that people probably backed out once it was changed and went to Chantilly instead. And this year ended up coming to the Mint, like, since it wasn't pushed back, they didn't have to change hotels and all that. So
this was the original date for this year.
Yes. So there are some factors that could have led to the change, but that was my biggest surprise, was walking the floor, seeing you still saw all the innovation, all the new products that are coming out soon. Zion Cases debuted their new Mag Pros, which are absolutely sick.
Nice.
They're basically oversized magnetics, which I'll be doing a feature on our Instagram in a few weeks, showing you guys these in detail. And you can also check out multiple videos on our IG from the Mint. But they're basically like an oversized mag that has a little customizable flip on it. So you can customize your own flip at the top, but it's an actual mag case, and it's not too much bigger than a normal magnetic, little smaller maybe than a PSA slab. But man, these things look good. They're so nice. They're so cool. They'll be dropping in a few weeks, I believe Zion Case has said, but there's a lot of really cool innovation that was on the floor.
I know Clint's been working on those for a while now. Yes. So I'm glad to see he's finally got it down and ready to pop out.
Yep, they're doing business to business right now. It'll be available to the general public here in just a few weeks. But I highly recommend checking out the videos on the Mag Pro, as I detailed them in pretty in depth at the Mint while I was there. But walking the floor this year, it was amazing. Once again, running into so many people that maybe don't even head to the National anymore as much, or are too busy at the National to talk. People like
or are too far west for the National, because it does not go west of the Mississippi, or it hasn't in at least 20 years. So being out in Vegas is a little bit different. You get a lot.
Yeah, they can get there in about an hour plane ride. It makes it a lot easier for most people on the West Coast. So you did see a couple, a little more people that you might not normally see, like at every National, things like that. So it was really nice. It was really cool to see the overall floor layout. I thought they did a great job organizing the event. No, there were some major issues with some stuff, but overall they did a really good job. I do have to slight a couple of companies here in just a little bit, but they did a really good job with the floor layout. Panini's booth was awesome. Obviously, Topps had a really huge booth. Topps brought back one of my favorite things. They put up a wall of cards, and it's basically take a card, leave a card type of deal.
Nice.
And I would go up there every now and then and just drop off an auto when I saw a bunch of kids there or something, throw something cool in instead of just a base card. But by the end of the weekend, it was filled with people just hooking that wall up, and seeing the kids run up to it and grab stuff was awesome. And that's also another thing I saw. A lot of kids this year. So many kids at this show. And for a show that you see as so much of a trade show, it surprised me. But these kids were interested in all of it. And I was quite impressed. The overall presentation was great. The after-hour events, I will say, need a little work. Right. This year, when we went to one of the quote unquote parties or whatever, the carnival or whatever it was, far from it. It was a room with a couple of drinks. You could shoot basketball with Adam Morrison for about 5 minutes, and then there was nothing to do. Yeah. So it really wasn't a collector's carnival or whatever, which was supposed to have white chocolate. He backed out last minute due to travel problems, and we ended up getting Adam Morrison instead, which, I'm fine with. And Adam Morrison was cool, but the events left a little to be a little more to be desired, considering what you were paying to get into those events. You know what I mean? It really wasn't anything. It was literally just walking to the room with people that you had just seen and that you could talk to on the floor all day long, see them for a few minutes and, grab some finger food and leave. But
and with an open bar.
Right. Yes. And so other than that, it was cool. The panels I did, I was working at the Gem Mint PSA booth. And so didn't get a chance to check out a lot of the panels, but did get to sneak into a couple when I had some time, and they were good. I thought the Hobby Talk was really well. The couple others that I was able to check out just for some content, which I'll be releasing here this week on video. They were great. I thought they were wonderful. And I thought the layout this year was great. It was in the same basic general spot, but I think they're finding their footing. It's year 2 of a show they're trying to do completely different. And they're trying something like no other show in the country does, which I commend them for. I think the more different types of shows we can have, the better for the hobby, instead of everybody feeling like every show's the same. And so I love the idea that they're doing. I do think they've got a couple of things to flesh out, but I mean, compared to year one, I would say that this was a drastic improvement. I think that there was still some to be desired and left to be desired, in my opinion, but the access to everybody was well. Obviously, this is a time where everybody wants to talk and discuss business. A lot of business was talked and discussed. And I thought it was an awesome show. I highly, and I say this all the time, even if you're just in this a little bit in the business aspect of the hobby, it's a show that I highly recommend everybody going to and experiencing at least once. And now that I've seen what they're building it to, I would almost extend it to collectors, because if you like to see what's coming up in the hobby in the future, if you want to see up close and personal what's going on in the future, as well as grabbing a bunch of lower end stuff, checking out dollar boxes, which I never expected to see there, but apparently is going to be a thing going forward. I thought it was awesome. So a great year two improvement, although I do think they're still finding their balance between trade show and card show, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think from what I saw, from all the way out here in, the cold hellhole that we call Chicago, I think I'm going to have to get my ass out there next year, because I think it's one of those things where it's not going to be something that you want to miss.
No, so, I absolutely think it is a can't miss show. I would definitely put it on my can't list show from this year.
All right. Now, speaking of things that nobody missed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
What the hell was Beckett thinking?
Now, I made a meme. I don't know if you guys saw it. I was able to get pictures of the entire process of their first reveal, when they tarped it, when they replaced it, and then when ultimately they pulled it down. But yes, if you guys did miss it, Beckett, as soon as it started, ripped open their curtains to their booth, revealing an all new grading scale that made absolutely no freaking sense, saying that if you had quad 9.5s, it equal to 10.
Now I'm going to tell you, Drew, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, Dr. Beckett is rolling over in his grave right now, and he's not even dead.
I was about to say he's going to be on Hobby Hotline this Saturday.
Yeah, I know. Dude is rolling over in his grave, and he's not even dead. So, look, this was like when we had Jeremy and Kunal on back in August after the National, we had the conversation about the new slab design that the marketing department, kind of got ahead of their skis on, and they threw up there anyway, and it created a whole bunch of madness.
Yeah.
And now we've got this.
Here we are again.
So basically what happened was they were going to change their grading scale. And if you had, so where a gem mint is now going to be a 10, but instead of a 9.5, but they're also going to have the pristine 10. Yes. And they're going to have the black label 10.
Yes.
Which is fine. No issues with that.
It's fine if you want to distinguish between that stuff.
Correct. However, what they didn't do was make changes to the subgrades. So now, in order to be a Gem Mint 10, you had to have at least one of the subgrades be a 10. Yeah. Now, as part of this also, they were going to add in the 9.5 grade, but as a Mint Plus grade, very similar to what SGC started. And then CSG, decided to do that as well and things like that. But, I'm supportive of. Now, here's the problem. If you have a card that is a quad 9.5, so all the subgrades are 9.5s, what we in the hobby like to refer to as a true gem.
Yep, true gem.
Immediately, once that change gets made to the grading scale, that card is no longer considered gem mint.
Right.
Because it doesn't have a 10, at least 110 as one of the subgrades.
Well, see, initially they announced that if you had quad 9.5s, it would be a 10. And so a lot of people went and bought on the floor quad 9.5s, expecting to do it. Day one, before it opened, the preview show, they were talking and saying that you could bring it to them and get it swapped out with the new flip and everything if you had that stuff for a small fee. Then the next day, it popped up that you had to have 110 on there to get it popped up. So it didn't just start with 110. They were going to give all quad 9.5s. They were just going to give them a bump that they didn't deserve. And then they got backlash, so they tarped it. And then they threw out that you had to have 110. And then people still, I mean, despite the fact that they said screw all the people that, went and bought the quad 9.5s to, flip up, then they decided to say, well, hey, all you have to have is 110. So then what do you think people do? They go find some that have 110. Then they say, scratch it. We're not going to do any of it. So a lot of people were very pissed about that. And
now here's what let's get into the details. Here's what I don't understand. So under the current, I'll call it the current grading scale, because they backtracked everything and said, we're not making any changes yet. We're going to,
well, I have an update on that I'll give.
We're going to get into that in a minute, but I just didn't want to get ahead of myself there.
Yeah.
So according to their grading scale, a 9.5 was a gem mint, which means that if you had quad 9.5s as subgrades, the card was gem mint. That would be no different than if you were to look at subgrades for a PSA 10.
Right.
You would see at least 3 of the 4 subgrades, if they did subs, on a gem mint 10 would be 3 of the 4 subgrades would be 10s. In theory. This is, again, it's not exactly like that, but look, let's, I'm trying to make an apples to apples.
Simplify this, yeah.
Right. So why not change the subgrades as well?
Yeah.
Because you immediately, if you've got quad 9.5s, and they're going to say, hey, it's a 10, it needs to have at least 110 in order to do that. Well, what if you got a card that's 3 9.5s, or I'm sorry, that's got 2 9.5s, a 10, and a 9?
Right. Yeah.
But what you're really doing is taking all those quad 9.5s. Imagine all the quad 9.5 Jordan rookies that are out there.
Oh, yeah.
You are immediately downgrading those.
Yes. Instantly.
And
not only that, think of all the National Treasures RPAs, the basketball, because that's what Beckett was always known for, if anything, was the Bowman Chrome and the NT RPAs and stuff, and the Cup RPAs, because they wanted those subgrades just in case.
The subgrades, but you also got to keep in mind, that PSA, in order to get a card like an NT, RPA or something like the Cup slabbed back in the day, they had to give you that. It was like this monster size slab.
Yes.
Now it's different.
Right.
But a lot of those are still going. Plus, they also have the inner liner. The inner sleeve that they put the card into before they put it in the slab. There's a lot of people that still love that, me included.
Yeah.
Because it's that added layer of protection for the card. If you you shake it around or whatever, it's not going to get, it's not, there's no potential for it to get scratched by the plastic of the slab.
Which PSA is now added to some cards that fit a criteria on their grading now. But yes, the inner sleeve definitely helped as well. But you saw those cards all the time, and the true gems were the ones that would sell for astronomical amounts compared to having 1 9 on, like 9. It was a massive increase. And like you said, it basically made completely downgraded them 1,000% overnight. Like
instead of those cards being gem mint in the snap of a finger right there, they became mint plus.
Yeah.
And had they gone through with it, the amount of value that would have wiped out of the hobby.
Yes.
would have been astronomical.
Oh, yes.
There probably would, if you take all the cards that are 9/5s, that are either quad 9/5s or maybe 3 9/5s and a 9,
Mm-hmm.
You're and you downgrade all of those to a Mint Plus instead of Gem Mint.
Yeah.
You're probably wiping out a good 8-figure number worth of value for the hobby.
Easily. And one of the funniest things was at the start of the show when they announced all this stuff, the line at Beckett and the conversation around Beckett was massive. After that first preview day, it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
The entire weekend. Like, I have never seen so many people walk by a booth and have so much tension at that booth, and then that booth literally be a ghost town the rest of the weekend. It was mind-blowing to me.
So before we get into the update regarding that and kind of what they did in the a couple of days past the mint, I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question. It's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get an answer on the show. But Jeremy and Kunal, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah. Well, I can kind of give you a little update on that.
Well, hold on. We'll get to that because I know it's part of the update. And who's getting fired?
Yeah.
Because a mistake like this cannot go. This isn't a slap on the wrist, error.
Right.
This isn't something small. This is something that has the potential to completely and utterly destroy the company.
Yes. Now, I will say that two of the names that you said are absolutely right. They appeared on our show and did the first interview Beckett had in a couple of years. I highly recommend you check that episode out if you haven't. It's probably a couple of months ago, but I will tell you right now, a lot of stuff that they said, listening to that and then seeing at the Mint and where they've gone since then, it's quite interesting and still very, very current event related. So if you haven't heard that episode, definitely check it out. But you said, what were Kunal and Jeremy thinking? That's two of the people. Now, I spoke to somebody very high up. They may or may not basically run the National, and they may or may not also run a very, very well-known hobby website in the industry, but I had a long conversation with this man or woman, and they happened to tell me that there are three people at Beckett that right now are making those decisions. You had two of them right. Third one I'm not going to name, but basically they all three have completely different visions on where they think all this stuff could go. And they all put their ideas up. They all tried to push for what they thought was right, but they are being overruled at every single corner and are being shut down completely by one person. And I'm sure if you connect the dots and play a little game and do a little diagram, whatever you need to do, a yarn chart like a serial killer does, whatever you need to do, you can cross names, and figure out who it is that's making those ultimate decisions. But they're being shot down at every single corner. And ultimately, somebody decided to take this completely on their own reins and say, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. What you guys think does not matter. And quite honestly, the people that are making those decisions are not the one out of the three that has any idea about the actual collector. They might have the best idea on the market. They may be brilliant with technology. They may be brilliant in advertising. They may be brilliant in all this other stuff. But when it comes down to the collector, the actual person grading the cards and the people on the ground floor of the hobby, the people in that company that are ultimately shutting everyone else, like Jeremy, for example, down, they're silencing them. They're blocking their ideas out, and they don't understand the collectors in this industry. And that's something that you and I spoke about that we were worried about. And you're seeing it now.
Yeah. Now, that brings us to the next thing.
Yes.
So they put out an update shortly after the Mint.
Yep.
That they were going to, start doing some focus groups.
Yes.
Talking to people in the hobby. They put out a survey that you can go and fill out.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be reaching out to people in, who've got the experience in the hobby and finding out what their views are. I'm still waiting for my phone call. But don't you think this is something that should have happened first?
Yeah. I mean, what the hell? What do you? Yes.
This is something that should have happened. This is, if you're thinking about making a change like this, maybe we should have focus grouped this with people from within the hobby first.
You could focus group it within your own damn company. I know enough freaking collectors there at the own company that if they had actually listened to people, I know for a fact people in the company that were heavily against this because I spoke to them at the Mint. I know for a fact they were heavily against this, but had no choice. They could have focus grouped this. They could have spoken to everyone they needed to do, but that's just it. The people making these decisions don't care until it's too late. They think this is some industry where you can throw crap out there, and if it doesn't work, you can just immediately backtrack and fix it. You've seen it a million times, but this is not a freaking website or a new shopping cart. This is not the internet tech space. This is physical, tangible collectibles. And like you said, that change would have cost at least 8 figures in the hobby. At
a minimum. At a minimum.
And that's a very low estimate. That's very forgiving, at that point. The amount of value they could have lost is extraordinary. So for them to come out and do the crap they did, which I've got their statement here, they're, like you said, they're going to do a hobby-wide survey. They're going to be reaching out to specific people in the hobby. I know they're going to be reaching out to a lot of us. I'm sure we'll get those calls soon, if not from Kunal, from Jeremy, or someone else. Yep. And they're also going to be hosting, like you said, focus groups and things like that. And you can go fill out the survey. Check out Beckett on Facebook. They've got a link to it. You can, or on Twitter, and you can click and take that survey. And I highly recommend you do, because I'm not using Beckett anymore. I'll be quite honest, unless I'm authenticating something, because their authentication department is still phenomenal. What Brooke and Steve built has been absolutely insane. Yep. Although Brooke's not in that side of it anymore, what those two were really responsible for building has been phenomenal. But the grading side of stuff is a freaking mess. And like we kind of talked about before, if I'm Beckett after all of this, I move and focus all my attention on authentication, and I come up with whatever the hell kind of tech stuff they want to do, and ease your damn asses out of grading if you need to, because if you're not going to listen to the people that can actually make changes, and I'm talking about people I know there that are graders, people that I know there that are high ups in the company that I just spoke to in person that hated this idea, all you had to do is walk the office floor and talk to 5 people, and you could have focus grouped it in 10 minutes. But yep. They thought they knew everything because they think they know this space, and they don't. And it's frustrating because Beckett is a part of my childhood growing up.
I think it's part of it. It's part of all of our childhoods growing up.
B, I have a great relationship with Dr. Jim, who founded the company. And although he doesn't own it anymore, is still part of his legacy. I would like to see that preserved and taken care of, and not run into the ground by people that have no freaking clue what they're doing. But it's frustrating to me, and it's getting to the point where I just want to say, look, you got a lot of awesome cards and a lot of awesome Beckett slabs. If either keep things the same or get rid of the grading, because you got to do something. You can't have these reactionary. This isn't the first time they've done this. Like we just said, they keep throwing out new things, throwing it at the wall, throwing it at collectors. And as soon as there's an uproar, they pull it right back. And for good reason, they pulled it back. I'm glad they did, because it was stupid. But
now, hold on. Hold on a second, though. I understand why they wanted to make the change where the gem mint became a 10.
Well, I get
that. I understand that. I'm supportive of that.
Right.
The issue became, what then are the qualifications?
Yes.
As far as subgrades go.
Right.
There is a way to do this.
No, there is.
To be able to make this change and still preserve things where what was a gem mint at 9.5 remains a gem mint.
Yes, and still holds that value in collectors' eyes.
Correct. Because all we're really doing is changing a label.
Right.
You're saying what was a 9.5 is now a 10.
Well, and the slab is going to get thinner. That is going to stay. The slab is getting changed, just for everyone's knowledge.
I'm less focused on that. That is not the issue.
Exactly.
The change in the physical side, that's not the problem.
No.
That was never the problem.
Nope. No.
There is a way to do this. But
Absolutely
you also have to change the subgrade structure as well.
Right. Yep.
And there is a way. I'm not going to give away all my secrets.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm gonna
tell them how to do their job. Let's see.
No. I will gladly tell them how to do their job. So I was telling you now, Kunal, Jeremy, you want to know how to do it right, and how to fix it, and how to relaunch it, and how to be successful with it.
You got our contact info.
You've got my number.
Yeah.
You have my number.
Yeah.
You know where to find me. You know where the rainbow ends.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep.
Call me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you exactly how to do it right, and how to do it without pissing off 99% of the hobby.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And guys, I know you are listening, because I know one of you is a weekly listener. But you definitely give us a call. We can help you out with a lot of that. But yeah, when you say pissing off the community, you have no idea. That first night of the mint turned from a celebration of the mint opening to a straight up bunch of pissed off Beckett people, not employees, but people going to the Beckett booth. And then everyone else just laughing like crazy. Like it literally became a laughing stock.
You had, from what I heard, you had half the people that had torches and pitchforks, and the other half that were just sitting back, drinking a beer and watching the show.
There's Beckett again. I mean, I heard this more times than once. This exact phrase, exactly what I'd expect from Beckett, and that's what's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, you had your pitchforks and torches guys, and you had your Michael Jackson bucket of popcorn guys.
Yep.
And those of you that know that GIF, or GIF, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, you know what I'm referencing. So, again, you guys know where to find me. Yeah, I can tell you how to fix it. Call me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, moving on.
Yes.
So, in addition to that debacle, you also were able to dig up some additional. Well, I don't want to use the word scandalous information, because it's not really scandalous.
Some upcoming breaking news, I will say. Yeah. So this has nothing to do with Beckett, but I was able to talk and confirm over the last few days, which we did drop on Hobby News Daily, a little piece on it, but it really hasn't been talked about a lot yet. I know it will be discussed on Hobby Hotline in depth on Saturday with Dr. Beckett and a few other people, I believe Victor Roman and Adam Palmer. But over the weekend, Fanatics had a bunch of meetings, or at least a bunch of dinners and conversations with a lot of people at Panini. Those conversations, I can tell you right now, have led to already 8 people or more. This is 8 that we've confirmed. 8 people that left Panini and have now joined Fanatics in some sort of role. Now, these announcements will start coming out very soon. I find it a little odd that they haven't made the announcements yet. I have a couple theories as to why, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But Panini, we've been talking about for a while now. There weren't a lot of people there left anyways. There were people taking over that were hired for one job that were running 4 different departments as soon as a month ago. Now, 8 people, including at least 3 that are very high up in Panini's food chain, have left Panini to join Fanatics. Now, I'm not going to give the names at this moment because it has not been made official, and it's not my business to put their personal business out there till they want to. So I will let them make the announcements. If you do enough digging, you can find it if you know their names. But at least 8 employees from Panini have now headed to Fanatics. So first thing I want to do is ask your opinion on what you think about this, because I have a little theory I want to run by you as well.
Okay. So I'm a little torn on which way I kind of want to go, because I don't think that this is a pre-buyout move.
Okay, because that was kind of my question.
Typically, if they're gonna make, if they're gonna try to buy out the company, they don't want to steal the employees before they buy out the company. Typically, you just leave them there, and you say, "Yes, we want to buy the company. Here's how much. Here's a check."
But could this not be them? Because what they did was they made him an offer. They didn't take it like at the mint. They all waited till they got back and then handed in their papers. When I see something like this, it kind of makes me seem like, are they trying to take the executives to then make because we all know a couple months ago that they were very close to purchasing Panini. I know for a fact, I have confirmed, they made offers and it was very close to being done. And it ended up not being done. And that, we haven't heard much of that story at all since then. So the offers were on the table. So are they siphoning them to then offer them pennies on the dollar?
Well, I think the longer that they wait, they're going to wind up getting a pennies on the dollar offer anyway. Yeah. Because the closer you get to the beginning of the Fanatics contracts with the NBA and the NFL, you have a product that is going to generate less revenue at the higher revenue percentage, which is what the current contracts are at, compared to the ones that Fanatics has. I think the only way that I think that they're going to wind up being able to pull that off, if this is indeed a move to force a buyout, if it is top executives that they're stealing away right now,
and it is,
what they might come to the table with now and say, well, you have nobody there running the company. Let us come in and, let us buy it out and we'll get it. But I don't think they need the company. They don't need the company.
They don't need the company.
No, what they need is the intellectual property.
Right.
That's what they really want. They really don't care about the company. But I will say that for those of you that, are expecting like a 2-year wait on redemptions, it's probably going to be closer to 5 at the moment, or they're going to start creating those sparkle packs for pretty much every product and saying, what, screw it, we're done. Here you go, your sparkle packs. Yeah. I honestly don't know.
Now, I find this interesting. In addition to all the Panini people moving forward, Fanatics also announced their plan to have NBA cards in late 2023 and 2024, which is before they have the license. So,
but in 2021 they did Topps Finest Basketball,
right? But are they expecting to get that intellectual property from Panini? Are they expecting to be able to use stuff early? Or they what are they expecting to do with this? A lot. Just the announcement of the NBA was a little shocking to me because there was no need to announce anything about it, but they did. And at the same time, they're taking all the key executives, the amount of brain power that just left Panini when the names come out and you see the positions is astonishing. Like they literally chopped them in half almost.
And well, so here's my thinking. So, and this is going to be a weird one, just follow me here for a second.
Let's go.
Last year's Bowman University.
Yeah.
Complete, straight up NIL product.
Mm-hmm.
No school logos, just players and colors. This year's Bowman University, aside from the fact that they got rid of paper, like, awesome, great job on that one, Tops. It's still an NIL product, but it's also an NCAA product.
Yes.
So my thinking is for those basketball products, Fanatics already has deals with individual basketball players for autographs,
including Wembayana.
Yeah, they got that now.
Yeah.
What I am thinking it's going to be, it's going to be very similar to first year Bowman University.
Yeah.
Where they're just going to airbrush off the uniforms.
Well, I think they will too. Look back at the old Bowman football, even Bowman when they had the license. If you look at Bowman football right before they lost the license in 2015, I believe, to Panini, Bowman was already airbrushed out.
Right.
Like all the rookies and everything, they still airbrushed it, even when it was Bowman.
The difference is going to be before the contract hits. The only way that a player can have a card is if they have an individual contract with that player.
Yes.
Which means we're not going to see LeBron.
No.
Frankly, I don't think we'd see him anyway because he'd be retired and then he reverts back to Upper Deck exclusive. But the only reason he's got cards with Panini is because he's still playing. He's an active player. I think it's going to be. I think they're going to go sign individual contracts with 100+ players.
Sure.
And they're going to do a product out of it.
Well, I think they are too. I honestly think the main reason they wanted to do it was to capitalize on Victor Wembanyama. Like, this is the biggest prospect since LeBron.
Yep.
And let's face it, Bronny Jr., he'll get some hype, but he's not going to have near the hype that Victor is going to have. And so I think, honestly, they were like, there's no way we're missing that trade.
And now, but here's the other side of the Bronny Jr. thing. Do you think I don't think he'll have autograph products in whether it's Panini or Fanatics or anything. I think Daddy's going to wind up talking him into going Upper Deck exclusive from an autograph standpoint.
Well, I think eventually they do, but Fanatics has already announced we'll have some, at least in the McDonald's and things like that. Yeah. So we might have some pre NBA cards.
But those may be his only autographs.
That's very possible because he could easily follow in his father's footsteps at Upper Deck, which a lot of athletes have done lately. Garland, a lot of other people had also done it outside of just LeBron, Jordan, things like that. But that greatly influences the card market. Hell, signing an exclusive with Upper Deck is literally what made Prism popular. Thank you, Ben Simmons. Like, if Ben Simmons did not sign that exclusive, Prism would not be what it was. Like, it would never have taken off because people wouldn't have been looking for that one rookie to chase because there were no autos and people settled on the Silver Prism, and look what happened to the Prism brand. Thank you again, Ben Simmons. At least you did
the only thing. It's the only thing we can think.
At least you did something positive for the hobby, because you sure didn't for anyone that bought your cards. But it very well could be his only autographs could be in the lower end products, because I definitely think with obviously your dad attached to it, I'm assuming he's going to want to have probably the same type of deal. I'm assuming LeBron obviously loves the deal because he's not signing a billion things. Upper Deck is very good with their exclusive athletes, and I really haven't seen a company ever use their athletes that they have signed to an exclusive as well as Upper Deck does.
Yeah.
And so anyone that's offered that contract, honestly, would be kind of crazy not to take it unless Fanatics starts putting in some crazy incentives that make it a little more appealing than Upper Deck, but I just don't.
Now I will say,
if
there's a company out there that is going to do that, Fanatics is the one, because they've got deeper pockets than Upper Deck does. But
yes,
I still see him going Upper Deck. But anyway, that's besides the point. But that's the reason I think they're doing basketball. But I don't know I honestly don't know what their play is pilfering the Panini executives. What I do know is, if that collective brain trust is gone, and I use the word brain trust loosely because, let's be honest, Panini hasn't exactly been the shining example of what a card company should be the last 5 years or so. If they're stealing away that brain trust, like, I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know if they. I mean, what are they gonna do? They're gonna hire replacements for these people, knowing that there's a definitive shelf life on the product?
That's the biggest thing, and that's why I'm so confused on, do they want the Panini brand, or are they trying to get the people from Panini so they can get what you said earlier, the intellectual property from Panini, and maybe Panini pushes out back to stickers, NASCAR, things like that, and maybe moves on with some things and sells some intellectual property. I mean, when Topps finished the first original football license, well, guess what they did with the Inception plates and things like that? They handed them over to Panini, and they created this thing called Origins. Go check out the first year of it, and go look at that same year of Inception. Same plates, guys. So intellectual property gets transferred all the time. I mean, Upper Deck has metal now. They never created metal in the past. I mean, it was Skybox in a completely different company.
Well, Panini didn't do Donruss.
Right.
Donruss was Donruss. Actually, Leaf was Donruss.
It moves all the time. So maybe this is a power play to not, maybe since the offer to buy the company fell through, they figured, screw it, we'll just take the people. We'll try and grab what we want, which I'm assuming is Prism, Optic, National Treasures, Flawless, things like that. And then say bye, and let.
But here's the thing: do they really need Optic? They don't need Optic. Optic is Topps Chrome.
I agree.
They don't need Optic.
But see, then you get into a much deeper conversation we'll have to have on another show, where, okay, well, now Prism needs to change to on-card autographs, because you got to have that chromium product, the on-card autographs, which was Optic's main thing. You also, do you want that rated rookie logo? That's massively valuable, and that is in Optic. And so, and Donruss. So,
but I honestly don't think that is as valuable at least in the current market, as Prism.
No, I agree.
And I'd rather have, between those two brands, I think the Prism brand is definitely more valuable than the Donruss or Donruss Optic brands. But
now, I think if you gave Panini 10 more years with Optic, I think Optic would take over.
True.
Hampered by Donruss.
That may be true. But what I will say is, Panini is in a tough position right now, because of this. And frankly, if somebody at Panini came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, we'd like to take you for this job that is the top person that that wind up leaving," I'm going to turn that down.
Same here.
I'm going to turn it down, because there is a definitive shelf life on this. Like, hey, you're gonna go roll with this for 2 to 3 years, and then now you could wind up orchestrating a buyout to Fanatics, and you could wind up moving over to Fanatics and a similar type role. But whatever. But there's no guarantee.
I was about to say, there's no guarantee on that.
There's no guarantee on that.
No.
So Panini is in a world of hurt.
Yes. This is a massive blow to Panini. I will say, I'm going to reach out to a lot of Panini contacts I have, or the few that are still there, as a few of mine are some of the 8 now that have left. But I'm interested to see what happens going forward, because like you said, there was already so much change in the last 6 months. There was already so many new people brought in. Some people didn't even last a year. Some of these people that left just came into these positions a year ago, and they're already moving. Like, this is a massive, massive exodus at Panini, and I'm going to be really interested to see what happens from now until national time, maybe. Like, as we said at the beginning of the show, is maybe this leading up to something at the national? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, Panini might not have happened at the mint, as I think Beckett was dealt the biggest blow at the mint, but post-mint, as soon as everybody got back to work that Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, Panini got a stack of adios, I'm out of here letters.
And I will say, I understand why those people waited.
So do I.
I completely understand why they waited.
Don't do that at the show. No,
absolutely not. Especially when you're not, especially when the show is not in your hometown.
Right.
Because they could say, all right, great, have fun getting home.
Exactly.
We paid for your flight here. You're going.
We lost your hotel reservation.
Exactly. You don't do that. Plus, you've already committed to doing a job for a company at this show. You don't look. These people are not Gen Z people.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not the ones that will just all right, hey, screw this, I'm out of here. I don't like this job anyway. And just walk away.
Right.
That's not. What it is.
No, they have integrity. They actually have a little bit of respect.
Correct, and I'm willing to bet they put in a notice too.
Oh, I know for a fact they did.
I know. I'm not doubting that at all. I'm willing to bet I'm just because we have a lot of people that are Gen Z that do listen to the show. I just want to point that out. Non-hobby related. Don't ever walk away from a job.
Yep.
If you're going to leave the job. Give a proper notice to allow your employer to find a replacement for you.
Yep.
Don't just walk away.
No.
That's okay. So that's my non-hobby, Gen Z advice right here.
There you go.
So all right. So we are actually, before we started recording, we had actually joked around about how we could literally talk about this for a week. And be fine. And that's exactly like we were anticipating like a 30-minute episode tonight.
Yeah. Sorry about
just
that.
because it is Friday night. It's late. I got a soccer game in the morning. Yeah. We have, I'm refereeing in the afternoon.
I got a flight.
Yeah. You got a flight tomorrow. So before we wrap things up.
Yes.
We got one quickie hit that we want to do. And it revolves around the little teaser that we threw out at the beginning of the show. So, Drew, why don't you go ahead and dig into the details on this one?
All right. So we did mention the Beckett interview that we had from a couple of months ago. But if you check out a couple of weeks ago when we had John Scanlon on the show from Denver Card Shows, where we talked all about the new trimming scandal when everybody was the quote unquote trap house of the hobby, when that beautiful, beautiful slogan was coined forever by John on the show. He talked a lot about his PSA experience and about how he was blown off when he tried to speak with them and about how he was really upset at how he was treated. And he went into some pretty good detail on that. And I highly recommend you check out that episode. Well, I got a phone call from John this morning. Friday morning, as we're recording, Friday night, the 7th, I got a phone call from him. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I picked up, said, what's up? And he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that PSA reached out to me. And I was like, about what? I was confused. I honestly forgot that we had talked so much about that. And he was like, well, they actually called and said, you just did an interview on a podcast recently about PSA and stuff, right? And he's like, well, yeah, it was more about the trimming scandal and everything and about how y'all treated me like shit. But yes, I did.
Yeah. And the PSA wasn't the focus. It was more about the guy that just got arrested because he scammed like $800,000 worth of fake cards.
Yeah, the interview was all about that. PSA was just a side thing where he was telling his story about how he tried to notify people. Well, PSA reached out to him, spoke to him for about 20 minutes, and apologized greatly for everything that happened, assured him that, obviously the regime has changed significantly since then. None of those people that were there are really there anymore. If they are, they're not in any of those same positions. But spoke to him, talked to him, got his feedback on things that they could do better, talked about how they would handle social media DMs and people bringing this stuff to their attention in the future, and really had a small little focus group conversation, kind of like what Beckett's doing, if you will, with them, and said how much they appreciated him going on the show, how much they loved the interview, and how much they wanted to help in the future. And I thought that was awesome. I mean, I already knew that some people at PSA listened to the show. Look, I talked to them a lot.
We know some high up people at PSA listen to the show.
Yes, very. And so I'm glad to hear that. And I love to see stuff like that. And like I said, again, guys, if you didn't listen to that interview, it's one of my favorites of the year so far. Definitely a leading contender for one of my favorites of the year so far.
Look, no disrespect to John, but it's only April.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree. But John's got the heads up on the first quarter. And I just thought it was awesome that PSA actually reached out to him, found his information, because I didn't give it to him, got his number. He didn't give it to him, and was able to.
It's not hard. Look, he runs he's a show promoter.
I'm just saying,
out there. It's easy.
They could have hit him up on Instagram and sent him some bullshit message or sent him some BS email. But the fact they took the time out to actually call him and have a discussion with him about it and actually talk to him about, what did you do in this process? How can we improve this? And, assuring him of, new safeguards in place and things like that. I thought it was pretty awesome. So I'm happy.
I was pleasantly surprised when you sent me that this afternoon, and I, happy with the way they did it. Now, I do want to, point out that for those of you that remember the story behind this and the interview and all that kind of stuff, PSA wasn't really at fault other than just blowing him off,
right?
For DMs, things like that. That was the only thing that they did wrong.
Yeah,
they're not gonna, somebody was out there counterfeiting their slabs.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, to say that PSA was responsible for that because they're not.
No, of course.
So I just want to put it. I just want for those people that are, that ever thought that there was an impression that we gave,
right?
Like, oh, look, this had it was a PSA scandal. No. No. The scandal itself had nothing to do with PSA, other than the fact that the guys that were counterfeiting the slabs counterfeited theirs instead of somebody else's.
And when they were provided the information, they didn't take it the way they should have. Outside of that, nothing to do with it.
No, exactly. And we did point out during the show, during that interview, that it was the old regime.
Yes.
At PSA, not the current, not the current regime is running the company now. But I just, like I said, I just want to put that out there because this, it was not a, what we discussed was not a slam on PSA.
No, not at all.
But there might be some people out there that, hear us giving the update and, PSA reached out and apologized. And no, PSA, look, the only thing they had to apologize for was something that somebody did years ago. And all they did was just brush the guy, brush off John,
blow him off.
Ignore him. Yeah. And that was it. But again, we're talking about people that probably aren't with the company anymore and probably haven't been for several years. Yeah. So, the fact that they reached out now, even though it's, it's all new people that are running the show over there, that apologized, said, hey, how can we do things better, and spent 20 minutes talking to John about it. I think it says a lot about them as a company.
100%. And that's really why I wanted to bring it up, because I think it does show how much the new regime does pay attention to everything that's going on. And I was very happy about that. Now, I do have to say, guys, you're at the Mint next time, maybe don't do on-site grading. And if you do, maybe staff yourself a little bit better, because I really don't want to have to handle y'all's line on Saturday, because you can't, even though we took care of it in about an hour, but that's a completely different story for probably off the air. But
yeah, that's a private conversation.
Yeah.
Whoever's responsible for that, slide into the Drew's DMs, and you guys have that conversation.
We'll discuss that. I'll talk to the right people on that later. But I loved hearing that, and like I said, that's why we do these interviews. It's not just it's to get the attention of people sometimes, we want to tell a story. We wanted John's story to be out there, but at the same time, you've got a major company in the industry that's listening to that interview and just hears their name being brought up. And like you said, they were not the focal point of this at all.
No,
but they heard something and said, wait a minute, we can do better at this. Maybe we should reach out to this guy.
Yeah.
And they did. And they told him, they said, we absolutely loved the interview. We thought it was excellent. They said, but we wanted to make sure that we talked to you. And so I think that's what I want to see, since we were talking about Beckett and everything before, and their disconnect from the customer and the actual hobbyist. Here's a major example of the difference.
Yep.
This company understands the hobbyist and the collector and wants to reach out to them to make sure that everything's cool and see what they can do better, as opposed to thinking they know everything and thinking they can just ride and depend on their name and they can make any change they want and people are just going to blindly follow it. Because that's the observation from the other quote unquote big whatever number you want to call them, probably fourth now, but who knows?
And hey, look at us affecting change in the industry.
I know. Who would have thought?
It's our good deed of the year.
It is, and it's only April, and we knocked it
out.
And
we're tapped out.
I know.
Guess what? You guys are all screwed until January.
Yeah. Yep. Check out
we're only given one of these a year, and we used it up early. So we are out of fucks to give. I'm sorry. Yes. It resets January 1st. Yep. So good luck with that.
Yeah. No fucks given until 2024. And on that note, Mr. Rappaport, I think it's probably a good time to end this week's show. What do you think?
I would agree. I got to get up early to play soccer.
I'm right there with
you. Never thought words would ever come out of my mouth.
I didn't either, to tell you the truth, but hey, I like it. But before we go, guys, would like to, of course, thank our awesome sponsors. We got Show Your Slabs, Slab Strong, Denver Card Shows, of course, Treasure Hunter Sports Cards, Card Ladder, and our brand new sponsor, Stand Up Displays. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the show. Really looking forward to having Stand Up Displays on board. You guys will be able to check out some of their awesome stuff and some of our awesome displays that we actually will probably grab some and put some up for sale if you guys would like some as well for Letter Rip. Let me get that autograph. We'll have a lot of that stuff here in the near future.
And I think, you know what? I think we may offer up some autograph versions of those too.
Yes, definitely.
So we'll sign, I say we'll have the regular versions up, and then, if you guys want autograph versions of that, we are glad to do that.
Yeah, we're going to do some really fun stuff with that. And I will say there's a couple things that works in the pipeline that we're very excited about as we make the road now from April until the end of July, beginning of August for the Nationals. Some really cool stuff coming up that you guys are not going to want to miss. But very glad to welcome Stand Up Displays on board to all of our awesome sponsors. Once again, thank you guys so much. Of course, new episode of Let Her Rip will be out next week. We have an episode live from the Mint. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, with Jeff Hoffer from Panini. He was able to join me. Make sure to check that episode out if you haven't, as a giveaway will be put up this week, but you must watch the episode. Otherwise, you won't know how to get in the giveaway. So make sure to check that out as well. Another new episode will come back next week when I'm back from Florida with Revolution Soccer, which Scott had some great luck with. We'll see how. Hopefully mine's as good as his was. But yes,
I hope so, man. I hope so.
But yes, that episode will be up. And then also, of course, Hobby Hotline every single Saturday. And then the first Tuesday of every month is, instead of every Tuesday, it's going to be the first Tuesday of every month. And then every Saturday as usual. But yeah, so a lot of awesome stuff coming up, guys. But Scott, always a pleasure to do the show, man. And glad to be back.
Yeah, enjoy Florida. We'll talk when you get back.
Absolutely. Well, till then, guys, you know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits. We'll talk to you then. Peace.